Hello, guys. Welcome back to TFD. Oh, my goodness. I'm telling you right now, when I read this latest piece from Howard Megdal, I just sat back in my chair. Because this isn't small talk anymore. This isn't negotiations are ongoing fluff. This feels different. This feels serious as hell. If you haven't seen it, Howard Megdal, longtime Women's National Basketball Association insider, is reporting on the CBA talks, and he's speaking directly with agents and players. Not random sources, not anonymous Twitter accounts. Agents, players, real damn conversations behind the scenes. And when the headline includes language suggesting that a split is a last resort, that's not accidental. That's not dramatic wording for clicks. Howard Megdal is a legitimate journalist. He knows exactly how powerful words like that are. He understands what happens when you float something that big into the public space. That's not some reckless nonsense. Let's be real. He's been around the league a long time. He's built relationships. You don't casually drop a headline like that without knowing what it implies. And when the conversation involves someone like Kelsey Plum, that adds another layer. You don't attach her name to something that explosive without some level of understanding or approval. That's just not how this damn works. And here's the bigger point. Headlines like this don't appear out of nowhere. They signal tension. They signal frustration. They signal that things behind closed doors may not be going smoothly. Something messy might be bubbling under the surface. So, does it mean everything is collapsing tomorrow? Not necessarily, but when respected insiders start using language that hints at division, you have to pay attention. You can't just brush that off like it's nothing. Because at this stage, with the CBA deadline looming, even the suggestion of a split tells you one thing. Something is brewing, and it's bigger than people want to admit. And that's the scary part.
So here's said, welcome to Basketball Insider, yada, yada, yada. Late Tuesday night, we learned what many had already suspected. It speaks to a divide that has happened, a divide that many within the union have concluded is unbridgeable. The very existence of the letter reinforces the points that Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart make in it. We are frustrated we've not made more progress, and so on. But there have been many takes in the hours since. Simply put, does the criticism from Breanna Stewart and Kelsey Plum make sense? Why would two members of the executive committee go public with grievances like this? Isn't that what internal meetings are for? But for those who read the space regularly, Tuesday's reckoning was a long time coming. Back in September, I pointed out that the fee statement, treated in many corners as purely a broadside against the league, also contained dissatisfaction with the PA's communication, or, as Nafisa Collier put it, telling my agent that she doesn't believe physical play contributes to injuries, that's infuriating. It's a perfect example of the dismissive tone and approach that some believe the leadership has consistently taken. So, I'll be honest. At first, I thought that comment was more of a shot at Kathy Engelbert. That's how it came across to me. But if it turns out that it was also directed at the PA, then that changes the entire tone of it. And by the way, with everything Alex Bezel has been saying publicly, I don't get the sense that this is some burn-it-all-down movement. In fact, it sounds like the opposite. He's been clear. They're not trying to replace the Women's National Basketball Association. They're not trying to run unrivaled in the summer to compete directly. He's basically said for their league to truly succeed, the WNBA has to succeed too. I think a lot of people are framing this as WNBA versus unrivaled, like it has to be exclusive, like one survives and the other doesn't. But that doesn't seem realistic. Expanding to places like Brooklyn or Philly might not be huge profit drivers right now, but it grows visibility, it grows investment, it builds long-term leverage. Do I think everyone involved sees it exactly the same way? Probably not. Maybe Fee believes it can scale faster. Maybe Alex doesn't. But at the end of the day, I don't think anyone wants to risk destabilizing the WNBA. That's still the foundation. So, here's said, note the plural, and Nafisa Collier's decision to make this statement without even a heads up to the Women's National Basketball Association, multiple sources familiar with the situation. So, she said that, by the way, she didn't even tell her agent. She didn't tell her agent. She just said that. So, here's said, an even more obvious tell came when a group of WNBA agents wrote to Terry Jackson, speaking directly to questions of transparency. Okay, here's said, there are too many examples of this disconnect to list here, but the letter from Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart detailed many of them, including how many members of the WNBPA were caught by surprise over even good news, like the One Team Partners licensing money that it collected over the past 6 years. The number of times even player reps have complained privately that they don't know about the basic functions of the WNBPA reinforces what is now spilling into public view. Here's the real problem. With 6 days until the league described March 10th deadline, there's not consensus about the way forward in either direction. That's not just a WNBPA problem. That's a problem for the Women's National Basketball Association as well, should it wish to get more proactive in these next few days. Because any movement needs to be aimed at a consensus position. Instead, we're seeing a further unraveling of the communication. Owners back-channeling directly to specific players, everyone unsure what the goal actually is. Okay, so the owners are literally talking to their players and being like, what the fricking is going on? So, basically, like the owners now are going to their players and asking what's happening. The owners are trying to get something done. They're like, what is going on? The owners are talking now directly to the players. Oh my God. Like, even the owners are sick of this. Even the owners are like, dude, get your PA in order. The PA is in damn chaos. They released this, and this is the most bullshit thing ever. And by the way, I've said this before, I said this was completely misleading in a video a couple hours ago, and he actually comes into this article to say these surveys are rigged. Here said, it is signed by every member of the committee. But as you'll see below, when I asked Kelsey Plum on Monday whether she believed the EC needed to be unanimous in its recommendation for the Women's National Basketball Players Association to move forward on a strategy, she wasn't sure. And that's not Plum's fault. It's because it is nearly impossible to imagine some members of the EC accepting anything like the current deal, or some members of the EC authorizing a strike. Even within the EC, the goal line varies. Accordingly, even the WNBPA's messaging that has followed the letter regarding its survey sent last week is perplexing. This doesn't mean anything. You're said 2 things on this. It is notable that the PA effectively used push polling methodology in surveying its membership. This isn't just a question in search of an answer. It leads to a skewing of the actual usefulness of the data for the PA itself. Who is this for? Here said, also, the league has maintained that the current math puts the current net revenue at north of 70%. Exactly. They put in a fake number to the players, like said not 50%, which multiple sources familiar with the current proposal confirmed to the IX Sports. There is, according to Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart on Monday, a way to reach an agreement regardless of the revenue system if the actual revenue is agreeable to the players. But the PA has not yet even entertained that possibility in a proposal to the league. And it is March 4. Here said, it's all difficult to fathom. The leaked letter, 3 sources told the IX Sports, did not come from Plum's camp, Stewart's camp, or Nafisa Collier's camp. That means, almost by definition, it came from a faction within the PA less eager to settle. I mean, come on. Come on. Here said, what purpose did that serve? Again, who is this for? All the infighting has left rank-and-file members deeply unsettled. One described the entire process to me as an episode of a reality TV show. Another confirmed to me that the survey, even within push-polling questions, neglected to provide a positive set of parameters for what players would want. This was particularly concerning as it related to the middle class of members. It honestly feels like the questions are framed in a way where the only possible answers push you toward a negative outcome. Like, imagine giving people 2 terrible options and then acting shocked at the result. That's what this sounds like. It's like asking, would you accept a clearly worse deal right now, or would you rather keep negotiating? Well, obviously you're going to keep negotiating. That doesn't mean you want chaos. It just means you're not going to voluntarily take less than what's already been discussed. If the league has already put something better on the table, why would anyone agree to a watered-down version of it for 8 years? That's not aggressive. That's basic logic. So when the results come out and say 84% are willing to strike, you have to ask, what exactly were they responding to? Were they voting for a strike? Or were they rejecting a hypothetical bad deal that doesn't even exist? There's a big difference.
If the framing of the questions nudges players toward one emotional reaction, then of course the percentages are going to look dramatic. But dramatic numbers don't always tell the full story. And that's the issue. It starts to feel less like honest feedback and more like engineered outrage. And that's where things start to get messy. Here said, the result is players like Natasha Cloud want to make sure the middle class of players are taken care of. Okay, yeah, even like Tash Cloud seems reasonable. That's fine. That's actually fine. Make sure the middle player is taken care of. That's something they can negotiate. But the PA don't want to do it. The PA don't want to do it. Here said, we are still not making what the middleman should, Cloud said, referring to the middle class of player salaries, adding that housing should not be negotiated any further. Quote, I'm happy with the proposal they came back to us with, but there's a lot more that we can do to protect our middleman. I'll be honest, I didn't even realize that at first. If Natasha Cloud is saying that adding housing shouldn't be negotiated any further, then that shifts the narrative a bit, because that doesn't sound like someone trying to stall everything out. That sounds more like someone saying, let's lock this in and go play. Now, maybe she's been perceived as one of the faces of the burn it down energy, but maybe that's more about communication style than actual position. And I'll say this clearly, I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong about Natasha Cloud. And if that's the case, I'll own it. Sometimes tone gets confused with intent. She's passionate. She speaks directly. I do the same thing here. I'm literally just talking into a mic, reacting in real time. And I know for a fact people can misinterpret things I say. So if I've done that to her or to anyone, that's on me. I'll put my hand up and apologize if needed. At the end of the day, I'm just a guy giving opinions. These players are actually living it. And if I've misread the situation, I have no problem correcting myself. I genuinely do believe this is the core issue. This is the part nobody wants to say out loud, but everyone is thinking. According to multiple reports, the PA leadership hasn't clearly committed internally to a specific number they're fighting for. And that's a problem, a real damn problem. Because how do players rally behind a goal if they don't even know what the target is? How are you supposed to march into a fight when you don't even know what the hell you're fighting for? Let's be honest. Everyone understands that jumping straight to something like 26% of gross revenue is incredibly difficult under the current structure. If that's the absolute non-negotiable line, then we're not even talking about a strike. We're talking about a complete philosophical divide. That's not meet in the middle. That's two sides standing on different damn planets yelling at each other. And the financial structure matters here. A significant portion of ownership doesn't directly benefit from franchise valuations increasing the way individual team owners might. They benefit from league profitability. So when you start talking about large slices of gross revenue, you're not just adjusting salaries. You're affecting operating costs, facilities, medical staff, housing, charter flights, everything. You're shaking the whole damn table. Charters alone can cost millions per team annually. That's before you even touch the salary cap, before you even start slicing up that pie. Now, if housing is the sticking point and players don't want to budge, fine, stand firm on it. Plant your flag. But at least define the fight clearly. Because without a clear number or framework, this just turns into noise. Loud, chaotic, unnecessary noise. And that helps nobody. Okay, here's the part that really makes people raise their eyebrows. The PA, according to numerous members who spoke with the IX Sports, has been unwilling to commit to a figure internally they're fighting for on things like the veteran minimum, saying instead the final top line needed to be negotiated first. And that's left numerous players unsure of what they're even fighting for. Yeah, obviously. And the survey? 6 people who saw it told the IX Sports it left them more confused than before. More confused than before. How the hell do you send out a survey and people end up more confused? That's backwards as hell. So again, who is this for? Not for members of the EC who sound ready to make a deal. Not for members of the EC who believe massive further negotiation is required, yet during Tuesday night's 3-hour call, did not get into any details of the current proposal or hear what the PA plans to respond by asking for, let alone when, as the clock keeps ticking. The damn clock is screaming at this point. Not for the middle class of players, more confused than before about what the endgame is. Nobody knows what's going on. And that's the scary part. If there's a single consistent talking point the players have emphasized at every stage, it is that they don't want to strike. They've said it over and over. They want to hoop. As Cameron Brink said on Monday, when asked for the one common goal of every player, she answered, to play. Simple. Straight up. No drama. Just play. And everything I listed above, who is this for? Because it damn sure doesn't sound like it's for the players who actually want to get on the court. One source familiar with the internal process responded to the IX Sports simply, people who want a streak. No wonder everybody's confused. No wonder this feels messy. When the messaging starts sounding like it's aimed at pushing towards a strike instead of avoiding one, of course people are going to be scratching their heads. This whole thing feels chaotic as hell right now.
They're trying to justify a strike. This is sabotage. This is sabotage. Genuinely, this is sabotage. This is reckless as hell. If this article is legit, no wonder everyone's confused. If this article is legit, shout out to Jackie H. Powell and Jacob Mox for contributing to the story. But if this is legit, this is sabotage. Straight up sabotage. There's a group, I don't know who it is, in PA leadership that wants a strike, and they're doing everything they can to make that happen. They had a 3-hour meeting and didn't even tell the players what they're going to respond with. The players don't know what the PA is going to ask the league for. There are 5 days until the deadline. 5 damn days! The players don't even know what the league is going to ask for, and leadership is refusing to tell them. This is sabotage. That's chaos. Even within the EC, there are people saying, yeah, we want way better than the current deal. Some of them are like, okay, we need to sign something similar. Others are like, no, we need to go way higher. They're not even unified. This is mental. This is literally sabotage. This is people trying to sabotage and burn down the league, burn it down, and walk away smiling. When we talk about the burn it down crew, my logic has always been this. The long-term outcome of a strike could be the league ending. That's why we call them the burn it down crew, because that's the risk. It feels like they actually want the league to end. They're doing everything they can to stall. There's no time left, and they're making sure the players get screwed over. They're not even giving the players an option, not even a damn choice. And when people say, oh, the league, I stand by this. They want to be perpetual victims. They want to be perpetual victims. And they're giving the league unrealistic demands so the league can lowball them. Because if you start way too high, the league responds way too low. And then you're not even negotiating properly. You're just playing games. That's why there was frustration, like when Paige Beckers and Cameron Brink said, we just want to play. The fact is, they're not giving the players an option. I mean this when I say it. They're not even giving the players a choice in what they want. That's wild. Imagine if they said, look, this is what we're trying to push for. Would you accept this? Would you accept 80% net revenue? Would you accept 80% net revenue with a $7.5 million salary cap? This would be the minimum contract. This is the maximum. This is the average. This is the projected median. Yes or no? They're not even giving the players that option. Instead, they're putting forward nonsense survey questions where players can only answer yes or no in a way that lets leadership cook the data so they can post it on social media and justify a strike. That's manipulative as hell. They are trying to justify a strike.
Okay, I think the biggest thing is, number one, we're in a rev share, right? We fought really hard for that. And that's also the hardest part about this is we're in a rev share and we're on a time constraint. And there's a sense of urgency, obviously, to get this deal done. And just to be clear, I want to play. I want to play, and players want to play. And so obviously we're going to continue to negotiate and do everything we possibly can to get this done in a timely fashion. But obviously a strike would be the worst thing for both sides because we are in a revenue. So no revenue to share.
Kelsey, related to that, how big is it that you guys are on the same track, right? Whatever the numbers end up having to be, just to be on a rev share same frame of mind when it comes to the way in which you guys are operating now?
When you say you guys, can you clarify?
Sorry, the league and players alike, finding sort of a common ground on what rev share needs to look like, and now it's more a meeting in the middle as opposed to, I know when we talked in Philly, it was about sort of having two different definitions still.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we're still on the different definition page, right? Net rev versus gross rev. Obviously, that comes down to expenses, right? Is it deducted before or after? And so, yeah, that's been a struggle. That's been a struggle.
So then I misunderstood what you were saying. I apologize for that. Is there a way to get to where you need to go, independent of whether you guys meet on the same track, or does the actual definition need to change, you think, still?
It's a great question. It's so interesting because obviously you can take any number out of a net rev model and put it into a gross net model and get a percentage, vice versa. However, at the end of the day, I think we've negotiated over 70% net revenue. That's a significant win, right? And I think that as we continue to go, we can continue to negotiate the expense credits that the league gets in the proposal, and working to focus towards things that we can control, which is obviously like the expense credits and things like that. It's important to get on the same page in any type of conversation, and that's been a pain point.
Can I help? You said like the 70% net is the one right now.
Yeah.
So how do you, as you're talking with players, as you're trying to figure out a way forward, continue to say like we can still negotiate more, but like if in your mind like what we have right now, at least what the league proposing, is still arguably a win?
Yeah, I think it's important to note that we still need to continue to negotiate, and you can continue to negotiate without striking.
The deal that's on the table right now, if it were brought to a vote, how many players do you think would be willing to take the deal that's on the table?
It's a tough question to answer because I don't have that intel, and I don't want to speak for the masses, right? But I do think it's important, like I said, and I hate to be redundant, but to continue to negotiate, but knowing that it's all in our best interest to get a deal done in a timely fashion so we can start on time and then obviously collect as much revenue as possible because we're all sharing it.
We know that a letter was sent by a contingent of agents to the union. How are you feeling as a player about that letter? Are players interested in their agents getting involved? Like, how would you characterize that?
Yeah, I'm not an agent, so I can't speak for how they feel, but I do know that they represent all the players, and so I think it speaks volumes that all of them came together to basically voice their thoughts and concerns, appreciations as well. And I think moving forward, everyone being on the same page, because obviously they represent the players, right? So everyone wants to be filled in and understand what's happening, and the agents are on the hook for a lot of things, right? You got the draft, you got expansion draft, you got free agency, you got the salary cap. There's so many things that they need to know and understand to best help their clients. So I think that them joining together speaks volumes for where we're at and what needs to happen moving forward.
Kelsey.
It's over. I'm serious. This is the most damning accusation we've heard so far. This isn't small drama. This is nuclear-level messy. If this reporting is accurate, it's basically saying that everything the PA is doing right now is about appeasing the faction that wants a strike, not building consensus, not presenting clear options, not defining a realistic landing spot, just escalating, just pouring gasoline on the fire and acting surprised when it explodes. And here's the part that's wild. Even players who believe they're far from their ideal number but still want to play and move negotiations forward are reportedly frustrated too. Because they're not even being given a defined path. They're not being told, here's the number we're pushing for, here's the framework. Are you in or out? That lack of clarity is what's angering people across the spectrum. That's what's ticking people off. Now, let's be real about human nature. In any industry, when people feel like they have nothing to lose, they're more willing to take extreme positions. That's not an attack, that's reality. It happens in corporations, it happens in unions. Sometimes leadership near the end of their tenure pushes harder because they won't be around for the long-term consequences. That's just facts. I'm not accusing anyone of that. I'm saying it's not impossible. People act in their perceived self-interest. That's just how the world works. Not everything is some noble crusade. But what's clear is that not every major voice is aligned with a burn-it-down approach. You can hear the frustration from certain players who just want structure and direction. Others, like Caitlin Clark, have largely stayed out of the noise publicly, which honestly makes sense. And Paige Beckers has expressed confidence that there will be a league moving forward. At the end of the day, though, if leadership can't unify messaging and define the goal, the credibility starts to erode. It starts to look sloppy. It starts to look chaotic. And that's the real danger here. That's the real danger. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to like and subscribe.